All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. All right, y'all, so I did catch the Rose Namajunas interview. The recent interview she did was like 16, 17-minute interview where she just kind of discussed what she's been up to. She talked about a few different things. She's got some things going on outside the cage when she plans on returning back to the cage. She talked about just kind of laying things out in the fall and then finding out when she's going to come back, which basically means that she's probably not coming back till like early 2023. And I think that's one of the reasons why Marina Rodriguez didn't get the fight with Rose, because she said she had a few offers, but she just said she needed some time off again, and she's going to, kind of lay it out in the fall and decide when she's going to come back and who she's going to fight. But the one thing that everybody's been talking about, some of y'all asked me my thoughts on this, is her making a return to flyweight or going to flyweight one day. Because she talked about putting on some muscle or bulking up, something like that. She said about trying to get physically stronger and maybe putting some weight on. And, the interviewer, he asked her, does that mean she wants to move up to flyweight? She said, you do the math. And, of course, the big name came up, right? The big name always comes up if you talk about 125. He asked her if she wanted to fight Valentina Shevchenko one day. And she said, that's an interesting fight. It would have to make sense, because she considers Valentina Shevchenko a friend. So it would have to be like a lucrative deal for her to even step in there with Valentina Shevchenko. So she did say it was an interesting fight. She didn't say, she turned it down, or she didn't say anything like, oh, she's too perfect, right? She did say she would do it, but it have to make sense. Let me read through the interview here because I just pulled up some text here just in case y'all didn't read or hear the actual interview. This is some of the things she said right after he asked her about flyweight. She said, I don't know, you do the math. I don't know, you can do the math. I really don't know. Like I said, I just want to take one step at a time. The UFC has given me some offers for things, and I just need the time to just not think about fighting. And then in the fall, I'll kind of lay it out and see what makes sense. All right, so yeah, that's probably why she didn't take the Marina Rodriguez fight, because she's just taking some time off. Then when asked about Valentina Shevchenko, she said, I love Valentina. In my opinion, I always forget that Amanda Nunes is the women's GOAT. But Valentina, if she keeps doing what she's doing, you can make that case for her as well, which a lot of people do. I do consider myself to be Valentina's friend. So in order for me to do that, we would have to be set up, not for life, but it would have to be a good reason, very good reason for me to even want to step to her. All right. So that's how she said it had to be a good reason for her to want to step to her. She's amazing in all ways. I have felt what she feels like in practice. I know a fight with her is a totally different thing, so that would be hard for me to say. Obviously, as a martial artist, that would definitely be very interesting. But yeah, I don't know yet. It would have to be very lucrative. She says she loves Valentina and she considers her a friend, and she would fight fighters that she trains with. Oh, okay. So yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with Rose on that you should want to fight fighters that you train with, because that's how you kind of test yourself, and that's how you really push yourself as a martial artist. So I do agree with her on that, because some fighters always say, I train with this person, I'm not going to fight him, right? So Rose did say she would fight her even though they have trained together, right? But it would have to make sense. But yeah, my thoughts on this. Some of y'all asked me my thoughts on Rose saying this is an interesting fight. First off, I think we talked about this before, and I don't really have an interest in it. Even if she did move up to 125 and said she was going to move up to 125, it's not really a fight that I'm dying for. Actually, Andrade moving up at the time sounded more interesting, just because, Jessica Andrade had those freakish qualities about her, and just because she has that mentality to want to fight anybody. Like, Andrade doesn't have the best skill set, and she does lack some, basic fight IQ and, some basic technical things. But Andrade even just made it interesting just by her energy and her willingness to fight anybody, right? As for Rose, I just always seen her at 115. I never really had an interest in seeing her move up, because her mindset to me has never really been step out of the box. I'm not saying she's a bad fighter. She's definitely a good fighter. She's a future Hall of Famer, like she said, 2-time champion for a reason. But her stepping out of the box like these other fighters like Amanda Nunes, even Holly Holm, of course, Valentina Shevchenko, fighters like that, to me, they like to push themselves, they definitely like to push themselves. Now, I'm not saying Holly Holm is in that GOAT status like these two, Shevchenko and Nunes. I'm just saying that mindset to want to challenge yourself outside of the box. I don't see that with Rose, and even like physically and technically, like I just don't see her style moving up and faring well at 125, aside from Valentina Shevchenko, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But yeah, it's just never really been a fight that I wanted to see. It was just never really interested in me, because, breaking it down, levels to it. You know, Rose, she's a champion, but she said it herself that Valentina Shevchenko is arguably the GOAT to her. You know, like she forgets about Amanda Nunes. So she's putting Valentina Shevchenko in that category. You don't really hear Rose Namajunas put herself in that category. I know she says she's the best, but that's her trying to convince herself that she can do it. She can do it. But you see fighters like Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko, they breathe it. You know what I mean? They breathe the greatness, and they just go in there and do what they do. Like, you can see it in their eyes. Like, they don't have to keep on repeating some type of affirmation to themselves. They just go in there and they do it. Look at the cold-blooded stare of Valentina, or look at like Amanda Nunes, how she's just bouncing in her corner, just ready to do her job. You know, Rose, sometimes she just has to like kind of level herself up and convince herself to step to the level of strawweight she's at. So seeing her move up to 125, oh man, like I just don't see that, you know, her challenging Valentina Shevchenko like that. But yeah, there's just levels to it. And that's why I said before, like, well, before I talk about that, yeah, and just in training, like, Rose Namajunas already experienced it, you know, so that's why she knows there's different levels. Like she said, she's felt that power and she's felt that energy. You know, the training of Valentina Shevchenko was just on another level. Like, her discipline is off the charts. Like, if you want to argue about anything about Valentina Shevchenko even being better than Amanda Nunes, is the level of discipline. Like, her level of discipline is definitely over Amanda Nunes. Now, Amanda Nunes still has a good well-roundedness about her to keep her in her GOAT status in a lot of people's eyes, but Valentina Shevchenko, her discipline is off the charts. You really can't question it. And that's why in the past I've said Rose Namajunas is just not as good of a champion as Valentina Shevchenko. Now, I know y'all Rose fans, y'all get very emotional. I had a lot of people comment. I had to block some people because, you know, y'all can't take constructive criticism. Like, and that's why I do over here. Like, I talk about all fighters, you know, I'm going to break it down to you, know, like, I'm a fan of the fight game first, but all y'all that are just simping over one fighter, y'all can't take criticism. You know, it's obvious that Valentina Shevchenko is a much better champion, a much consistent champion than Rose Namajunas. Rose already said it herself right there. You know, she didn't just come straight out, but she already said it. So, yeah, I just think Valentina Shevchenko, she's just in another level. You know, she's just on another level. Again, Rose, she's a Hall of Famer, but Valentina, what she does, it's just different than any other woman in WMMA aside from, you know, Amanda Nunes, right? So yeah, that's just one of the reasons it just never really intrigued me to even want to see the fight. As for just talking about those levels, I mean, if you want to talk about the technical side of it, I mean, Valentina Shevchenko, she's just physically stronger. She's just so much stronger than Rose Namajunas. Even if Rose had moved up to 125 and bulked up, you know, it's still something she would have to grow into, but look how strong Valentina is at 125. Look how she's handling these bigger girls, even like Caitlin Chikagan and Lauren Murphy and Jessica Andrade. And look at the struggle Rose Namajunas had with Jessica Andrade. You know, so Shevchenko, again, like, physically is just levels above her. You know, physically, her well-roundedness, you know, just how committed she is to her stand-up or her ground game when she's going in there. She can just switch up styles on you. You know, Rose Namajunas, she's a very good stand-up fighter, but her ground game, I don't think it could match somebody like Valentina Shevchenko's in there. You know what I mean? Like, even in the clinch, we all know who would win that. So you know how that fight would go. And Rose already felt it in training. And like she said, that was just a percentage of what she felt. And you can see, like, the pictures and some of the footage of how Valentina Shevchenko was going all out. You know, she put some bruises, she put some black eyes on Rose when they trained a while back for that Joanna fight. You know, and they've been training since. But I got to give Rose a credit. Like, she ain't never back out. You know, she trained with her. She hung in there. So that lets you know that some of it has rubbed off on Rose. But, you know, when you're talking about the source, where she's going to train with, that's Valentina Shevchenko. So, you know, she's just too well-rounded, too strong for her, you know, just all around, right? But let's say even before she got to somebody like Valentina Shevchenko, let's talk about that. Like, Rose Namajunas moving up to flyweight, putting on the muscle, and gaining that strength, you know, bulking up to that weight. How would she fare against some of these other 125-pounders? You know, we can't even talk about that. Like, how would she fare against somebody like Caitlin Chikagan first? Or Lauren Murphy? Or Tyler Santos, right? How would she fare against those flyweights? That's what we got to talk about first. Like, before we talk about Shevchenko, just because Rose is a champion, you know, just y'all want to make champ versus, or former champ versus champ. Let's talk about the tests that lie ahead. Because even Miesha Tate, when she moved up or moved down to 125, had to test herself, and you saw what happened. Of course, moving down sometimes is harder on the body, especially when you're older. But for somebody like Rose, who does well against strikers, very well against strikers, because she knows how to control the pace, how would she do against these grappler heavy fighters, or just these bigger, wider fighters? Like Katlyn Chookagian may box a lot, but she still has a pretty underrated ground game. How would she handle that wide stature frame of Lauren Murphy, who can box and take a shot? Can Rose Namajunas get her respect with the pop on her shots? So those are some fights that she had to fight. Hell, what if she had to fight Jessica Andrade again at 125, like a third fight at 125? That would favor Jessica Andrade. So that's just telling you that Rose Namajunas, what we've seen, she doesn't really have that same type of physical strength like Valentina Shevchenko or anything even similar, where she can go in there, clinch up, get the respect of these fighters, rough them up and maul them like that, right? She's more control from the outside, dance around, good footwork, good boxing, good kickboxing. Underrated ground game when she gets on the ground, but how would it handle against physically strong fighters like Taila Santos? Those girls would probably run through on the ground. They would maul her. They would control her, and how would she take the power punches to the body and to the head from Taila Santos or even Lauren Murphy, Could she hang with that awkward style of Katlyn Chookagian round after round? Because, Katlyn may not hit hard, but, she has rounds after round where she could just keep throwing flurries and just keep you back and just keep you honest, right? So it's just looking at these different options here before she even got to Valentina Shevchenko, And that's just one of the reasons why I think, Rose is just more of a strawweight. I've said that in the past. Like, I never really had that idea of her moving up. Just don't really have that frame for it. Like, looking at Joanna, Joanna, she's tall and long, but if you look at her physique, she's got a lot of like leanness to her. It's like this type of lean muscle, and she's very durable. Like, she's very physically strong in the core too as well. Like, that's why Joanna, at a point, I was saying she could move up to 125, because there was a point where she was kind of killing herself. She has a little bit more like thickness to her and, just like muscle, where if she stayed at 125, she probably would have been actually stronger, because like even when she fought Valentina Shevchenko, she actually gave Valentina a pretty competitive fight. Like, she never really had Valentina any scares, but she hung in there with her, took some hard kicks to the chest, got tossed around a little bit, fended off some takedowns, went 5 rounds with Valentina Shevchenko. So that just lets you know, like, Joanna had more of a physical ability, she was physically stronger, and that was possibly the weight for her, could have been the weight for her, just because of the way she's built too, As for Rose, though, I just don't. She's built the same way. She just doesn't have that type of muscular frame, even for a thin person like similar to Joanna. Both tall and long, but when you actually look at the builds, Joanna could fare better at flyweight, because she's just much stronger. Styles make fights. I know Joanna lost to Rose, but we're talking about longevity here and moving up in weight. Rose, on the other hand, if she was to take on Valentina, I think Valentina would just ragdoll her. Like, even against the cage, I don't think she would be able to stop takedowns like Joanna did, or even take leg kicks like Joanna did, or punches to the face like that. Joanna, she took them well because, she didn't have that rough weight cut. That's where she probably needed to be towards the end of her career as well. As for Rose Namajunas, how that fight would play out, I think, Valentina would just take her apart with leg kicks, keep her honest, time her every time she would try to step in. Hell, I don't even know if Rose would try to step in, because, she would probably take that approach like she did with Carla, right? It's completely on the outside, because the Carla fight was more of a mental thing, but imagine this fight, it's going to be mental and physical, where Rose is going to have to dance around, and if she tries to take chances, boom, she's going to pay for it, So I really don't see Rose being able to answer anything. Like, I don't even think she has a power factor or the jiu-jitsu to hang with Valentina Shevchenko, even with the weight on her, And like I said, it would have to be tested against some of these other flyweights first, the ones I got named, just to see how she could handle that physical strength first at 125. So yeah, man, that's my thoughts on that interview, just that segment where she talked about, a fight with Valentina. My final thoughts, it really didn't seem like it was something she was asking for. Like, I know some people made it seem like, oh, she's really interested. Oh, she really wants this fight. She said it was interesting, but it would have to really make sense. And she put it out there like, her friendship would be on the line and also her health would be on the line. That's why she said it would have to be lucrative, because you'd be asking a lot from her to face Valentina. She knows what she would be in for. Like she said, what did she say? Let me go back to that, because she said, hold on. Yeah, it would have to be a very good reason for her to step to her, right? So you got to make it worth her while. She knows what she's going in there with. It's almost like, yeah, you get an option to, like take on, the biggest fight in the world, like in boxing, like when Roy Jones said he moved up to heavyweight to fight Mike Tyson. You got to make it worth his while, right? Because that's the most dangerous fight of their career, right? It's not like her fighting Wei Lee at 125. She could do that, or one of these other fighters at 125, fine. But for Valentina Shevchenko, it would have to make sense, because it's not really a winnable fight. It's not really a winnable fight for her, So, like I said, I don't really want to see it. I hope it doesn't happen. Let me know, guys, what y'all think in the comment section. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.